that's fine, because we Muslim women jurists do have an answer, and it is rooted in very classical traditional Islamic law, and if followed, will immediately pull the Muslim women out of the poverty level and the disadvantage upon divorce. That's why Karamah has argued that what is important now is to push for two things: juristic reform from within the context of the culture and the religion, and legal education of the average woman so that she can stand up and demand her rights.
Excellent. I think Dr. Al-Kibri summarized it very well. Just to address the final point in the paper, the final point deals with this issue of violence against women. And again, this is an area in which policy recommenders, in which activists can actually use Islamic legal norms as a vehicle to promote change. Because again, this is a conversation within which we can find, this is where we can actually find conversations within Islamic law that deal with prohibiting these types of practices. And so, in conclusion, what I'd like to really state is that essentially, the issue of inequalities towards women, the issue of discrimination towards women, is one that is an extremely important one, clearly. And what's important when we're dealing with this issue is how can we most effectively promote change, as opposed to rhetorically affecting change. And so, in this light, as Dr. Al-Kibri was mentioning, first of all, we need to recognize the impact that poverty has on women, the lack of education, the lack of legal literacy. And those are areas which we really need to focus on if we're really going to look at promoting real change. As far as the religious component is concerned, we really need to move towards a framework which recognizes that there is potential within Islamic law, for example, and within other similar legal frameworks for conceptions of women's rights, which can really prove to be advantageous for women in these societies, and if we promote these types of conversations to occur, essentially we are promoting a type of reform which is much more sustainable than only promoting a uniform civil code type of framework, which one, often holds very little legitimacy amongst many of these societies, but two, oftentimes ignores the potential which many of these existing legal systems have to promote change, and also essentially misunderstands many of these concepts as well. And so this is the summary that I've been able to give of the document. You have it in the packet as well. If you'd like to conclude, we can also take questions.
I just would like to say that for those who are either here or who are going to be listening to these comments and are involved as policymakers in the future, that it's really important to approach issues of change in various places, cultures, civilizations with respect. And respect is not an abstract notion. Respect means looking into the concepts of that culture and civilization and understanding them beyond the stereotype that we see in the media or that is available for the average person. If you are going to be a policy maker, then you need to dig deeper and with respect concerning the other cultures and civilizations. And one way of doing that quickly is to build a bridge to the jurists, to the lawyers, to the women in these other cultures. And the other thing I would like to say is to remind you all that even God did not create the world in one day. Change takes time, especially with human consciousness. And change should not happen from the top down. It should happen from the inside out if it's going to be stable. And that's why we're advocating education and the importance of education. Let's all get together. We all have the same goal. Let's talk the same language. Let's have respect for each other's traditions. Let's have respect for each other's goals because we have the same goals. And let's talk about the various ways we can achieve them. And I think only with that kind of humility and positive attitude can we really lift humanity, and especially women, from the dire straits they're in today. Thank you, and we're open for questions. We'll let you take a breather. We said a lot, I know.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, but we cannot hear you. You just speak louder, please.
Okay. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. And I especially like your comments about working to encourage change from within so that it is therefore sustainable. And I'm wondering, how does Karamah plan to move ahead to perhaps join conversations with other women who are mobilized around this particular document so that these positions can be highlighted and perhaps incorporated into the already existing documents, perhaps as an addendum or an amendment, and I'm wondering if that's an option.
Let me answer you in some detail. I have invited Dr. Makawi, who will speak to you in French, to also comment on this matter. Karamah has established a very highly respectable jurist network around the Middle East and North Africa, with plans to develop in other parts of the world, such as Malaysia and Indonesia and so on. And we do have also students who follow the network, individuals who follow the network in Europe and the United States. This network has the task of looking at legal issues, the juristic issues of importance to Muslim women, restudying them in light of the demands of today's society, whether it's their society or some other society, and provide us with an opinion on that. And then we share this opinion with the general public. The Muslim women is our public general. Now, I will ask Dr. Makawi to talk to you about the network, but in the meantime, I also want to say that one way of presenting all this work and the message to the various Muslim communities of women around the world, because they're not all jurists and do not care to be jurists. They just want to know what their rights are, right? So we have workshops, some of which we conduct in the United States, and some of them we conduct abroad. And these are law and leadership workshops, where we study with the women the results of our research and understanding of a modern Islamic worldview for the 21st century, and also what are the leadership qualities that a Muslim woman would need to change her society from within. We also teach them conflict resolution, because we believe this should be done without conflict from the inside. This has been quite successful. I do not want to take the time to discuss how successful it was, but let us say that it's sufficiently successful that now we have quite a group of graduates of Karamah in Europe who have studied with us in the United States. But let me now turn the microphone over to Dr. Makawi to tell us about the Jurist Network. I think she'll speak in Arabic.
Someone who speaks French. I can't speak in French, لا.
Okay, I will translate.
ما في ترجمة.
I will translate.
لما تجمعت جهودنا في إطار كرامة والشبكة الدولية، يعني قررنا أن تكون أعمالنا ليست وأفكارنا ليست مفروضة من أعلى، وإنما يعني نبحث في كل مجتمع، في كل community، يعني عن ماهية المشاكل والحاجات، وبالتالي نبحث فيها انطلاقا من الثقافة المحلية